Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. My name is Joe, aka Joe the Wellness Curator, and this is the Obsidian Mindset Podcast, where we are redefining what wellness means to you. Welcome back. This is episode 33, Celebrating with My Inner Child. So let's jump right into it with our quotes and affirmations. So, as y'all know, I like to start each day off right personally with a meditation and a quote or affirmation. Like I stated before, it really is just to set the vibe. To me, usually, whatever I start the day off with, whatever I state in the morning, it usually either comes throughout that day, or I usually will need that affirmation or that quote to get through the day. Because, life be lifing and adultin' be adultin'. So today's affirmation is, I deserve to be celebrated. One more time, I deserve to be celebrated. One last time, I deserve to be celebrated. All right, I hope that got you grounded. Today we're going to do a short and sweet episode. With that, a short and sweet affirmation. I know sometimes it's a little bit longer and a little bit in depth and intentional, but this one I want to keep it very, very, very short. Part of the reason is for me, I'm a little exhausted. I had a long episode planned, or not a long episode, but a really good episode on social media talking about why I took a break from Twitter, why I want to be a little bit more intentional. I had studies and research about how it impacts your wellness, and I wanted to shift that. This morning I woke up and I wanted to talk about something different, and here we are. I want to be a little bit more frank, be a little bit more personal. I want to talk about celebration, which was inspired by my friend, which we'll get into, as well as talking about inner child, which is piggybacking off of a Hubu event, and I'll discuss Hubu in a bit, that we had this weekend, which was a phenomenal event. And I'll get a little bit more into detail about that in a second. So let's start off with shifting gears, why I wanted to shift it. Not only am I tired, but in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had some monumental, no, I don't want to diminish my achievements, but I had some really good news. I've done some really good things. And, for me, if you've been following my journey, if you've been following along, you know that I treat things like a to-do list. I go through it, I check it off, and I boom, 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 we'll go on to the next one. Boom, 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 we're on to the next goal. And I know a lot of y'all can resonate with that. It's just that we're very task oriented. We do things and we just keep it moving because there's a bigger goal, right? I love hitting my goals and my achievements, and I want to do more. I mean, I had a whole episode a few episodes ago saying, are you doing enough? Spoiler alert, I am. So the reason I wanted to shift gears because my friend, Erica, I hope she's listening, had an episode. She's a podcast host of Save the Good Girl. If you're not subscribed, please do that. She drops gems. She has 2 episodes a week. And the one episode I was listening to specifically, and she was talking about celebrating yourself and people around you. And it was a really good episode. And it really had me thinking a lot about, what in my life do I want to be celebrating? What in my life have I not been celebrating? And coincidentally, when I listened to the episode, it was right around July, the beginning of July. And that marked the halfway point of the year almost, right? Like we are halfway through the year. What have I done from the beginning of the year to the midway point? And not only what have I done, not in a negative judgmental way, which is sometimes it's easy for me to be judgmental about the things I have or have not done. I mean, honestly, I'll usually focus on the things I have not done, just by the nature of being self-critical. But I wanted to switch it up just based off that conversation and thinking a little bit more about what I want to celebrate. Like, let me write this list down of things that I've done this year to celebrate. And one thing I don't do is celebrate myself outwardly, so I'm going to do it here. And some things that I thought about when I'm thinking about celebration is, it's not about just bragging. It's not about showing off. It's not about, comparing yourself to anyone else. It's not about any of those things because all those things have a place, are coming from a place of judgment. When I take a step back and think about celebration, I think of being present, right? It's ironic that celebration and presence and gifts, but being present, having gratitude. Those are things that I think about when I think about celebration now. Before before I was on this wellness journey, I thought it was, celebrating your birthday, celebrating these big goals. I got married, I had a child, I passed an exam, I bought a house, major goals that society tells us that we should be achieving for. But now I'm in a place where I believe celebration is a key part of every journey. No matter if it's wellness, any dimension, it's important for it because a part of celebration is reflection. In order to reflect, you have to be present, you have to know what you're doing now. But in addition to that, you get to celebrate the things that's happened, right? You get to reflect on everything that you've done. And sometimes for those that are similar to me that don't tend to do that, I challenge you to use this as a pillar or a moment to do it. Because why not? You just like the affirmation said, you deserve to be celebrated. Right? So I think it's important to take time to just reflect and celebrate. Not just always reflect and see how you can pivot and get your goals faster. That's cool too. But in this instance, we're talking about stopping, we're talking about reflecting, and we're talking about celebrating. Period. Now, let's not get it twisted, or not even, let me just take a step back. Let's refrain what celebration means as well. It's not only the good things that we're celebrating, those high achievements, the doing something, getting things done. We can also celebrate lessons that we've learned, things that we tried and that might have quote unquote failed. But even within that failure, there's often a lesson that we get to celebrate if we choose to. Because again, it's a choice. Celebrating yourself is a choice. So why not choose in? Why not choose it? Why not choose you? Right? That's what I believe. And that's what I think I want to impart on everyone else too. So what I want y'all to do before I get into my celebration pieces, what I want to celebrate is I want you to take a second, pause this if you need to, put on some jams, put on your whatever a song or meditation or whatever makes you feel whole and complete or good or gives you that joy. Put that on and take some time to think about what you want to celebrate. Take some time to think about what you have been scared to celebrate. Take some time to think about what you think is not worthy to be celebrated. Write them down. Write them all down. Write them all down. What are you judged about being celebrated? What are you scared of telling people to celebrate about you? What is something you didn't take time out to celebrate? It might have passed. It might have came 6 months ago. That doesn't mean you can't celebrate it now. So why not? So I want you to write all those things down. Let's create a list. Let's create a list and let's it's time. It's time. All right, so pause it for a second. You know what? I'm gonna pause this whole episode. I'm gonna pause this episode. I'm gonna give you 30 seconds. Fast forward if you need to, if you don't have time. But I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds to write something down. Not 30 seconds. I'm gonna give y'all 20 seconds. All right, let's go. Let's get it. All right. I hope y'all have this nice list. If it's one thing, let's celebrate it. If it's 20 things, let's celebrate them. So for me, what I'm going to do is I am going to look at the last 6 months of my life because, like I said before, this is well, now it's August, and I still can't believe it's August. But I want to think of this in my celebration. I want to think about the last 6 months because for me, sometimes I'm overcritical about the year goals that I create, and I sometimes don't take time to celebrate those small wins or big wins. Right? Sometimes my friends will have to tell me, or my family will have to tell me, "Wow, that's a big win." I'm like, "Oh, I thought, you know, I, it's just one thing in a notch of 1,000 that I need to do." But no, even though that might be true, I get to celebrate that too. So, since I'm doing a mid-year check-in, and this is typically the time that I do it, the typical time that I'm a little judgmental about it. I'm going to choose to celebrate. So let's get through this. Let's get to this list. I personally cut my list into two. I did a personal list and a business list. I probably should have told y'all this before the 20 seconds, but you can still do this afterwards. Feel free to cut this up any way you want. If you want 8 dimensions of wellness to go through your wellness, you go for it. I just chose to split it between business and pleasure, or personal and business. So, a few of these on this episode, on this podcast, for those that have been following this last 6 months. A few might be a little bit more, you don't know. So, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to share them. Oh, okay. All right. I'm excited. Okay. So my first personal goal that I want to celebrate is me going to Trinidad and showing up in the outfit when I had such reservation and doubt and enjoying myself. That I think set the year off really strong. It was in February. I went to Trinidad. Shout out to Alexis. Went with her, or I saw her there, and that was such a great experience. And I felt like it was the culmination of celebrating me and my body over the last 12 years, 11, 12 years of my wellness journey, right? In 10 years, 20 years, for bit like, I will remember that moment for what it was in all its glory. Next up, I've done 2 Spartan races with some amazing people. Shout out to Alex, shout out to Erica, shout out to Evan, to the 3 folks that have done the races with me this year so far. We've done it in Colorado and Georgia, Atlanta. Both races were amazing. Hopefully, I'll get one of y'all on to talk about these races. That's my next goal. I think Alex, let's get this. I want to talk about these. People ask me about these races, and people swear I'm crazy. All right, let me wind that back. People ask me about these races, and I want to give a detailed response to what's going on. There's a lot of curious minds, so I want to give it from my perspective of what goes on during a race. I know Alex will tell you some of the things that goes on that I do. I get a little delirious. We'll get into all of that. This year, I've also done a half marathon. I'm currently training for another one, but excited I was able to do one this year. This one was big that I have not shared, and it took a lot of work and a lot of strategy, but I was able to pay off $20,000 in debt. Whew, it's so interesting because to me, financial wellness is one of the more vulnerable pieces of wellness that folks don't like to talk about. And it's also interesting how much financial wellness can impact the other wellness. I know, after doing this podcast for 2 seasons, 3 years, I know I've always said that each dimension can impact each other, but for some reason, I tend to forget, maybe because I also work in the financial space, how much, if your finances are in order or if it's not perceived in order, how much it can affect you mentally, emotionally, environmentally, vocation, like it's physically, right? Like there is angst and anxiety until you actually address it head on, right? You might even need to get your goal done, but sometimes the act of just having or feeling like you're in control of it is enough to kind of relieve yourself or feel a little bit better. And this is not a blanket statement because I know everyone's finances are different. And I know there's sometimes shame or trauma related to it. But as an overall message, I think there is something to how to own it, how to approach it, how do you have an abundant mindset that instead of a scarcity mindset, which I believe we spoke about last season. But these little things and shifting your mind of how you view money and your relationship with money, similar to social media, which I was going to talk about, but that's neither here nor there. When you shift it and you become more intentional, things start to change. And this can all happen from not even increasing your income or decreasing your expenses, right? Because usually when someone says I need to save or I need to spend money or I have to whatever I have to do, there's usually two things. You're either getting more money, getting more income, or you're decreasing your expenses. And when it comes to your mindset, sometimes you don't even need to do either of those things or change either of those things for abundance to enter your lifestyle. Next up, we have so a few episodes ago interviewed Monroe and Twan. So those are the two co-founders along with myself that created Hubu, which is Healing Us by Us. And this year we created it. We created a space. This space, Hubu, is for Black and Brown folks of the LGBTQ. I was gonna say variety, the LGBTQ community, and this is a place for us to heal, discuss things. Twan is our master yoga instructor slash kind of sets the mood, sets the vibe. Monroe is a psychologist, a trained psychologist and therapist, and he has such great background around some of the underlying things and issues and root causes in our community that we sometimes need to talk about and discuss. And he also is really good at holding the space. And myself, I bring the wellness aspect, usually the physical aspect, and even like the discussion pieces. So I think it's such a good balance between us three. And this all happened within this last 6-7 months. And since then, we've done two events. One was just about overall wellness as being a queer person, and the second was this weekend, about your inner child. And I'll talk about that more later in the episode. But such an amazing event. The last one was actually a revenue driving or revenue earning event for us. And that was our first time. There was so much nerves. There were so many things we were thinking about. And, we had a lot of things that happened even up to an hour before the event. But, again, having that abundant mindset, having that mindset of this is what we want to produce, this is what we want to give back, this is what we want to showcase. That's what we sat in. That's what we brought to the table, and it came together really well. So I'll talk about that more later. But that's something else we also did in the last 6 months. I also opened up my Shopify store selling merch for Obsidian Mindset. Shameless plug. Buy something. No, seriously, there are two. We have a hat, a dad hat, and a sweatshirt. Really dope items. Have the Obsidian logo on it. Check it out. I'm definitely going to have more merch probably for Q4. I'm really excited for what these will look like. I'm working with some really good people to get this done. So we'll just hold on for that as well. So there's a lot of things going on. I'm also celebrating starting swimming again. So for the last few weeks, I've been swimming once a week. And if you've, again, listened to the last two episodes, even my journey in general, I've been very adverse to swimming. When it turns out, your boy might actually enjoy it. You see how quick things turn? And that's something I want to celebrate because there was so much angst. There was so much anxiety. There was so much limiting beliefs in telling myself I can't do it. And the fact that I was able to do it and swim a lane one way, not two yet, but we're getting there. I still can't believe it. Like, I'm still in awe. And I think that of all the things, and there's a few more things, but that is probably one of the biggest things where it reminds me that it's my mind. right? It's me holding me back a lot of the times. That was one of the biggest things holding me back from a few things that I said, if I can't do swimming, I can't do X. For some reason, it's not even logical. But for some reason, I was attaching swimming something so big, and the fact that I can't do that, I can't do these other things. But now that that's kind of out of the window, not kind of, now that that's no longer, now that I realize that's no longer actually true, it is forcing me to reevaluate in other areas things that I thought I knew about myself, right? Because if that's not true, what else am I telling myself that's not actually true? In a bad way, or in a way that's negative, or in a way that's limiting me. I've been on 10 dates. you know, no, but I've been on 10 dates. Some of them, most of them, some of them have been solo dates. So let me just verify that, or let me just clarify that. And it's very solo dates. Let's not sleep on those, because you can have some fun by yourself. You can have some fun by yourself. And you really, for me at least, you learn a lot about yourself and what you like to do. And just giving yourself time and space to do stuff. That's not attached to, at least for me, that's not attached to work. That's not attached to business. That's not attached to wellness. That's not attached to like the gym. That's not attached to traveling. Like these big, I want to say big areas of my life. This is kind of solo dates to me feels like also like time to be with myself, right? To be present. Don't think about all that other stuff. This is for you. So that was enjoyable. I get to celebrate that. And I've had almost 500 downloads of Obsidian. Excited about that for the year. That's monumental to me, and I appreciate y'all for supporting. Shameless plug right now. If you are listening and you're watching on listening on one of these streaming services such as Apple, Spotify, etc., please, please, please subscribe and leave a review. That helps with other people finding Obsidian Mindset. What else? Okay, the last two things. Last thing is I got a client. So, I was very hesitant about taking on a client. This is for training. To be honest, imposter syndrome came and wreaked havoc in my life, especially around this subject. But I was able to get through that. I was able to talk through it. I was able to do it, and that excites me. And I'm excited to help and be a part of someone else's wellness journey. Oh, there's actually two more things. Second to last thing is actually auditioned to be a coach at a local gym. It's called Sweat DC, and was able to successfully lock that in. So I'm really excited to train and get into that over the next few weeks. That was another major, major accomplishment because I've never auditioned for something and got it. And I think that's me learning that I need to, again, similar to swimming, put more time and effort into believing that I can get things done, put more time and effort in putting myself out there because other people want to see me. Other people see that same sunshine, that same joy, that same energy that I see or sometimes don't see. And I feel like I need to be out there a little bit more. That's a little bit of critique for me. And to be honest, I have always hid behind, quote unquote, being an introvert, or hid behind, I'm just getting things done. I'm going to stay inside. But there's a lot that can happen from being outside. There's a lot that could happen from networking. There's a lot that could happen from just putting yourself out there, letting people know what you want, celebrating yourself out loud, right? Celebrating yourself out loud can easily get you some of these things, or at least the opportunity. And last but not least, and it's not even anything physical because you don't always need to celebrate something physical or tangible. It's just I feel like my emotional well being has been very good. Like I've been feeling mentally clear. I've been starting to meditate and journal more recently, and it just feels like things are aligning. And I'm here to celebrate alignment, whether that's things in my life, my purpose, my vision aligning with what's going on, or whether that's just meeting people and keeping connecting with people that are aligned with my vision, my purpose, and myself and my energy. I'm celebrating alignment. And that's my list. I know I've been talking for a little bit, but I hope that one that this is a lot of this is for me to do, but two, I hope you get the chance and you feel inspired to also celebrate, to also put some time and effort into saying it out loud. It's gonna sound different. It's gonna feel different, especially if you don't do this. But it's an exercise, and like I said before, it's a part of growth, right? Because it's a part of reflection. And if you want to grow, if you want to change trajectory, if you want to be better, bigger, faster, leaner, stronger, whatever, if you want to do all that, you have to reflect. And if you're going to reflect anyway, you might as well celebrate too. Now, before we get into a little break, let me just say two things. One, I could talk about the strategy behind each and every one of those wins and how I got there, right? I can do a mass. Oh, I should do a master class. No, but I can really do, like, we can do that. Actually, if you want to, there's going to be a link in the bio. Feel free for a consultation with Joe, and we'll talk about it. But we could talk about strategy, but it's like I said, the celebration is just as important too. So that's why I want you to create your list. Let's see what you're celebrating now, and that'll actually help you figure out what your next step is. To be honest, to be frank. But second, for last thing I want to mention is I'm thinking this is tentative, but look out for an event in October, which is around my time for my birthday, and we're gonna have an event, either virtual or in person, that we get to celebrate our wins. Bet. Hold me to that. If you're listening to this and you don't hear me say anything by September about it, mid September, hold me accountable. You heard it here first. Okay, so with that said, with that last bit of ranting and rambling, let's get this to a little break and then let's talk about my inner child. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Welcome back. So let's talk about inner child. Before I get into mine or what the event was about, the Hubu event, let me tell you what the inner child means, what that term means. I'm sure many of you heard it before, but you might not know exactly what it means. People just use it and then assume everyone knows it. But let's get into what it means. So your inner child is a part of your subconscious that has been picking up messages way before it was able to fully process what was going on, mentally or emotionally. It holds emotions, memories, and beliefs from the past, as well as hopes and dreams for the future. It could also include what a person learned as a child, usually before puberty. So, I explained before the break what Hubu was, and that's the group that Monroe Twan and I created. And the Healing Space series specifically is the space that we hold for Black queer men to discuss healing in practical terms, practical ways, as well as do yoga and things of that nature. Now, our last topic was about the inner child, and it was masterfully done. Like I said, Monroe was really good at holding space, so it was just crafted from the beginning. In his home, he was gracious enough to open up his home and create that space. And I've played with Play-Doh for the first time in a while. I was coloring in coloring books. So that part of the experience was really dope. So that kind of opened up that was a primer. Then we went into doing a yoga session. Tuan again masterfully creating that space, kind of getting us open, allowing us to breathe. And, when I think about breath, again, similar to a lot of things, it's about being intentional. I think breathing, sometimes we take it for granted. I'll say, let me use my words better. I sometimes take it for granted when, the irony is, as someone with asthma, that is one thing I should not take for granted. Never, like ever, right? Because I've been in situations where breathing has been hard to do. I've been in situations where I don't know where my inhaler is, but I feel like I can't breathe. And that is one of the scariest moments. And I don't talk about it often, but being out of breath without knowing where your inhaler is very scary. So, breath is very important, and it's important to be intentional about it. It's important to reflect, again, reflecting because it's going to come up a lot. It's important to reflect on the actual breathing. Put some gratitude behind it, being grateful that you are able to be here and breathe and wake up, right? So anytime I'm able to do breath work, I'm always centered. I'm always grounded. So I was really grateful for that as well. And one thing that we had to do, one thing that he asked us to do was really to basically hug our inner child. And I don't do it often, but when I do hug myself, I've been told I'm a great hugger. um, and when I do it to myself, it just I'm sometimes I get overwhelmed, um, in a good way, of course. And it kind of reminds me that I'm safe. It reminds me that I have me, that I'm not going anywhere because I believe in me. And in a sense, it does feel like I'm talking to my inner child. So the second thing he asked us to do was actually like talk to the inner child, talk to me, my little me. And the first thing that came to mind when I like looked at him face to face, and I've done this exercise maybe a couple months ago, but this time in this point in this space, the first thing I could say was, one, I am proud of you, and two, this is younger me talking. Wow, you're kind of cool. And I got so emotional about that. And one thing that I brought up to the group, and I believe this is the reason why I think the I'm cool comment really got me, or when it came to me, it really made me emotional, is because I think when I was younger, I felt like there were so many rules and there were so many things expected of me, and I had to live a certain life, and I had to be very rigid, and it has to be this and this and that. And as I've gotten older, especially these last couple of years of just feeling more free, just being more authentic and more vulnerable, I've realized that there are so many possibilities. And my younger self could not even comprehend 90% of it. It didn't understand that I could run marathons. It didn't understand that I could be dating. It didn't understand that I could be leading a group of people. It didn't see it. He did not see himself as a leader. He did not see himself being an expert and being folks coming to him looking for advice. He did not see himself having such high quality friendships that are valued. So when I think about all these things that I've achieved or created, it brings to mind, and I said this there, that I am an endless possibility. I am one of those impossible futures that not even my younger self could comprehend. And for that, that's a wild thought for me. I hope that makes sense, because in my head it does, but it's just like you're a possibility that wasn't even there. And I don't know, something about that really, it really makes me want to forge on and think about all the things that again, it goes back to limiting beliefs and just as a child, we're taught, there's so much you can do. You can do anything you want to do as long as you put your mind to it. And as we become adults and as we go through society and as we go through life and adulting, it slowly chips away at that. Like, nope, that's not possible. Nope, you shouldn't do that. Nope, get out. You're not good at that. Someone tells you you're not good at that. You're not meant to do that. And then you slowly start to get put into this box. You slowly start to get limited. You slowly start to lose some of the childlike essences or the childlike possibilities that you once believed in. And I think I was stuck in that for a while until realizing that, I can live an outrageous life. I can live the life that I want to live. I can dream big and live bigger. And it took a long time to get to that. So that's where you're cool came from. And I mean, I'm pretty cool. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think I'm cool. So, that event was really a good reminder of just remembering one, to just keep forward, keep thinking, keep being powerful, keep being vulnerable, keep being authentic. And just to remember to nurture my inner child. Don't forget to do moments of joy, whether that's coloring or whatever it looks like. To just remember that I got me. To remember to hug him. To remember to, nurture him. Give him a few, junk food now and then. Whatever makes him, like, you don't need to live this life of rigor and no enjoyment and work, no play, because that's not realistic. And similar to we deserve celebration, we deserve play too. We deserve play too. You deserve play too. So my previous ask was for you to write a list of things you want to celebrate. This ask is to take a second. I'm not going to pause the episode because I'm way. I said it's going to be short and sweet, and I'm past short, and we're moving away from sweet. But I want you to take some time and really talk to your inner child. What does he, they want? What have they been asking for? What do you want to tell them? What do you think they want to tell you? What do you want to do to nurture that inner child? Is it coloring in a coloring book? Is it going to a skate park? Is it going to a amusement park or a museum? Take some time to really figure out who they are and who you are in relation to them and how you can analyze and nurture them on a regular basis. This is not a one-time thing. This is something to continue. This is like working out, right? This is something we have to continue to do and create it like a muscle memory. But it was, just to recap, that event was really dope. I'm really excited about the next event that we're going to do. We'll post a link to our Eventbrite. So for anyone that wants to come to an event, I'll also share the IG, so if you could follow, and you'll also get notifications there of what we're doing next and what we're planning. We do things virtually and not virtually, in person, of course. And there's also a lot of things going on with Obsidian. I'll keep you posted on that as well. Stay tuned. I'm going to start working on a mailing list for that so I can get people on that. And we are just moving forward while also celebrating the present. And that's what I hope you guys get to do, what y'all get to do with me. So don't forget, take some time, be present, talk to your little inner child in them, and go celebrate. And as I like to say, thank you for picking you today. Bye, y'all.